So, in moving to Texas, we decided we were going to homeschool our middle daughter, and her little brother is 3, and he has been with me his whole childhood so far. We started Michaela, our 6-year-old, in preschool when I got pregnant with Zen, and I had really bad morning sickness. I was still hybrid homeschooling Sienna, our oldest, from COVID, and I was overwhelmed and exhausted. And so we started her at preschool at 2.5. And I have trauma from that. And so does she, in forcing it, in her crying and not wanting to go and screaming and trying to hold on to me, and me like handing her off, and them telling me that she's totally fine once you leave. And one of the preschool directors even said, this is a parenting problem because we're not seeing this at all at school. And then I would pick her up and she would scream for like 15 minutes all the way home, or be like miserable when we got home, throwing her body on the ground, like having fits. And I did research and research and research. I was like trying to find ways to support her better and like what's going on. I hired a parenting coach at the time. This was years ago. And what I found was something that seemed to fit was called restraint fatigue, where your child is restraining themselves all day, holding it together, possibly mirroring, possibly masking in front of adults that they don't feel safe with, or comfortable, being authentic and showing their true feelings. And so she was holding it all together, I truly believe, all day long. So yes, she's screaming and not wanting me to leave. And then I hand her off, and then I leave, and then she stops, right? Like she's totally fine when I leave, is her masking and trying to fit in and feeling embarrassed. And now that she's 6, she can actually articulate to me, the reason I don't scream in front of other grownups is because I feel embarrassed. She said that to me. And so here I am, like looking for all these answers outside of myself all these years. And truly what I needed to do was keep her home with me and keep her connection with me as the highest priority, instead of the convenience of handing my child off to someone else so that I could handle the other children and get things done, get all this stuff done, right? And so now, since we moved, Sienna was starting 6th grade, and Zen all of a sudden was like, where's my pep pack? And I got my shoes on and I want to go to my school. And I've been getting all these outside influences that like, this is what he needs, and it's socialization. And I've convinced myself that the idea that preschool is like the most fun time to go to school of all, and then it just gets more serious and, I, for lack of a better word, stressful as you get older. So like, let's give him the opportunity to experience this right now and learn the fundamentals. And so I toured some preschools here, and we started at one that does seem like it has like a positive energy flow. It's open. I can take him all the way to the classroom. I can bring him in and out when I please. And literally by day 2, he was holding on to the doorway, like crying, begging me not to take him in that room. And I forced it. So that was, Monday was day 1, Tuesday was day 2, today is Thursday. And when I picked him up, this time I picked him up before nap instead of after nap, like I did on Monday. He like had like almost a cry face on. And then afterwards, though, he said it was fun. And he said he did like it, to his sister, who was there checking it out and all excited for him. However, and he did not have restraint fatigue. So like, right, he is a different child. All children respond differently. Some thrive. Like Sienna really, really liked school, but she considered, when she was younger, considered school like her happy place. And she had gone through, she's my stepdaughter, and had gone through different things than these two, as far as security. And so, look, every child is different, and I wanted to give him the opportunity. And now the next day on Wednesday was begging me not to go. crying all morning. And so I made an arrangement with him, like, okay, you stay home today and then you go tomorrow and try again tomorrow. And he was like, okay, tomorrow, right? Like barely even knowing what that means, I think, at 3, like his conception of like, just not now. Okay, I'll agree to whatever I need to just not go right now. So then tomorrow comes, which is today. And I'm encouraging him to keep his word, which, is like, I was willing to adjust it because he's 3 and is learning what that even means, right? And his sister's like, you promised you would go. And I'm like, that's a really big concept. There's no way a 3-year-old understands the depth of what a promise means, right? So I'm not holding him to that. And I'm like, okay, we'll go talk to your teachers, because he said, I'm scared of my teachers and I don't want to eat lunch and I don't want to take the nap. And so I said, okay, Grandma will pick you up before nap and you don't have to eat the lunch if you don't want to. And I'll talk to your teachers that you're feeling scared of, and let them know, and I'm going to help you get some more support. So he's like, okay, begrudgingly, and still like crying and still asking not to go. And I'm like, okay, I just need to push through it, right? Like, this is what I consider a mistake that I made with Michaela, was not listening to my intuition and my gut and knowing that something deeper was happening with her, and that it wasn't just me being like I wasn't like a helicopter parent by any means. And so like whatever kind of parent they thought I was that had this parenting problem of why she couldn't let go of me in the morning, is like, looking back of all the research I've learned since and like the science-based books I've read since, is like, separation anxiety is because like we're a really extremely important connection. And the fact that we have been conditioned in our society to think that we need to force separation on our children to like teach them lessons, or like teach them how to socialize and teach them how to like be a part of a group, that like as if they won't learn that as they get older, that we need to force that on them when they're 2 and 3 if we don't have to, is a facade. I think that's what I've come to believe. And look, I absolutely understand that it is a privilege for me to even consider keeping my kids home, that like to be able to set up your life in a way that you can work from home or like get the support that you need for hours at a time and not need to send them away to school for financial reasons, I get is a privilege. And I am grateful for that opportunity to even consider homeschooling my children. And like, how much of school is really us using the opportunity to get the space that we need to work or to provide or to like breathe, because we need a break, and we're sending our children off like from 8 a.m. to almost 4 p.m. in the afternoon for like 8 hours for like a whole work day. And, they're little children that are meant to be wild and free. I am so conflicted because I sent him to school today and he was still the same situation, grabbing on the doorway, like begging me not to send him in. I handed him over to the teacher. He's crying and he like lets go. Like he didn't fight tooth and nail, but I'm like walking out of the room and she's holding him and he's crying. And it's like, I don't have to do this. So why am I forcing it? He doesn't want it and I don't have to do it. And yet I'm thinking that I'm helping him by doing this. And so like, yes, I'm sure he's going to learn something today. And could he have learned that at home? And could he have learned it in a more secure way? And could he have learned it in a way that he felt connected and not scared, that he felt supported and not abandoned? Probably, right? Like just like we're focusing now on natural consequences, like learning in a natural environment, doing a recipe and using all the ingredients to do math, and then having your kids write about it or present to the rest of the family about what they cooked, and are all the same skills being learned in a more secure environment if you have the opportunity to provide that for your children. And so we're going to try it for a little bit longer. I'm I'm willing to try next week and have my husband take him when he's back in town and see. I am just not convinced about this school system environment and like necessity for, you need to sit. Like my daughter, she stands up the whole time that she's like doing things, and like, why do we have to force them to sit in a chair to teach them how to be civilized human beings? Like, we're breaking their spirits, and they're trying to communicate it to us, and they're letting us know. I mean, maybe your kid absolutely loves school and thrives there, and if so, so be it. And if not, we are rushing them off to one activity after another, or a video game, or a TV show, or right, like something on a tablet, or they have to have their schedule filled. And it's so vital that we give our children the opportunity to be bored, to get curious, and to be creative. And so in homeschooling, I'm actually even learning that what I want to be doing is called unschooling. And the difference between school or homeschooling and unschooling is that homeschooling mimics the school system and it's teaching, and unschooling is facilitating learning. So I want to be a parent who is facilitating learning in my children instead of just teaching them lessons and right. Like, they're going to learn lessons in life and out in the world automatically. That's organically going to happen. And I want to be the parent that has a secure attachment to them, where they turn towards me for support in that lesson, where they turn towards me for advice through that lesson, and not resent me because I pushed them out into that lesson, or resent me because I'm at home trying to teach them the lesson before they actually need to learn it. I thought it was important to share this stuff with you guys because it's what I am going through currently. And I want to be vulnerable and connected with you guys in what I'm learning, and that, I have a vast library of knowledge within me, and I'm a researcher, and I'm a seeker, and I'm always looking for like, what else, and what's under that, and that is my mentality of like putting puzzles together and trying to understand the world. And I like to see it from the viewpoints of all the parties involved, and be somewhat of a mediator in resolving conflict and trying to understand what other people are talking about. And I have a very open mind, and I'm very willing to learn new things. And so the more after COVID and after homeschooling Sienna, it was so nice in our home because we weren't trying to force it to be a certain way. We had ease and flow, and we were going with it. So we would dress up each day, not every day, but often we would do like school spirit, and we'd be like, okay, today everybody wear pink. Today everybody wear leopard print. And we'd all go to our rooms, and we'd take our time, and we'd have fun, and we'd get dressed in the day's outfit. And we would be like, okay, today let's do art, and let's do cooking, and then let's write about it, and let's read a book that has to do with what we're interested in, right? Like, and it went really well, which I also realize is not everyone's experience. However, when I talk to people about lockdowns, I do hear like people appreciated the pace. And I think our kids, especially with, like, maybe they were antsy and they needed to get out more. And maybe that's an indication that we are like living in these tight cities and we don't have enough space to be free, and like, what would it take to really go in and do a deep dive to consider, is this the lifestyle that like I really need, or that I even really want? Like, if that is your situation right now of being in the rat race, like both parents having to work all the time just to be able to pay the bills, to live in this small apartment in the city, or like, could we get some more space and live at a slower pace with a more affordable life outside of the city? Like, could that be something that we want. And maybe the answer is no, and that's okay, right? Like, what I'm saying is, for our family, it was so important that I slowed down, especially for our middle daughter. She was getting highly anxious and super stressed out about having to get up and having to be there and having to do this and having to go, and come on, we got to go. We're going to be late. And like, I even like told her, like, Michaela, it's the law. You have to be at school on time. And if you're not, mommy and daddy can get in trouble because we signed you up for school. And so that means you have to be there, and we could get in trouble by the law, right? Like, if you're not, which is true, which is crazy that, we're forcing ourselves into these boxes. I think now, the more that I look at it, the more wild it seems and unrealistic it seems. And she was like, she's so wise that she's not wrong often. And she's like, well, then why did you sign me up for this? And I was like, why did I? Like, that was really the other like spark that drove me to get curious. Like, why did I? Like, I don't have to. We don't have to force you to go to school every day. We could trust in the process of her ability to learn if I facilitate learning. If we show up to offer our children opportunities to pick things up that they will learn from. Like the other day, we played Guess Who. And when we started the game, she did not know like which one to put down. Like, if she said, does your dinosaur, we have a National Geographic dinosaur Guess Who. And she was like, does your dinosaur have teeth showing? And I would say no. And she would be like, okay, does that mean I keep him up or do I put him down? Right? It was like something super simple. And then by the end of like the middle of the second game, she was like, doot, 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 knocking him down and totally understanding and knowing. And so she was getting a cognitive conception of something very logical that she needed to learn, and she was getting it through a game. This is my husband, Stanley. How funny is that? Anywho, I am just doing all this research on unschooling and game schooling, and what is our children really asking for with their behavior, and what's underneath that behavior? What are the feelings, and how can I prioritize our connection, my connection with my children above all else? Because when they grow up and life gets even more complex, I want my children to turn towards me and not further away from me, and not turn towards their peers because they don't think that I respect them, and they don't think that I listen to them, and they don't think that I understand them, right? My 6-year-old was telling me, Mommy, you don't understand. You don't understand. You don't understand me. She was saying, I hate you for making me go to school, and that I didn't understand. And I'm like trying to force a system on her that wasn't working for her, and that she like truthfully was telling me is not in alignment with what she knows to be true as what she needs. And I'm not saying like throw all the boundaries and expectations and rules and loving limits out the window. I'm saying be intuitive, be an attuned guide for our children, and trust that they're going to learn organically when we provide opportunities to facilitate that. Taking them to the market and having them add and having them, use critical thinking on, like, if we have this much money to spend, we can write it down on a piece of paper. Okay, well, this cereal or this fruit that you want to buy is going to cost this much, and like showing them how each item is subtracting value away from what you started with. Like, something like that is so simple. They're going to be learning, and you're going to be spending quality time together. Again, this is a privilege to even be able to consider doing this, and we just set up our lifestyle outside of a city so that we could do this, and we could support our children's needs. And so now I'm here, like, because my 3-year-old was curious about school and was like all excited and wanted to do school too because his sister was. 3 days in is like, I'm recognizing, I'm driving home, I'm sitting in my driveway just having like left him at school, and I'm recognizing that, in that moment forcing myself to hand him over to a stranger who doesn't love him and care about him the way that I do, and who isn't going to have the patience with him that I would because of that love, I'm not prioritizing our connection in this moment. I'm prioritizing someone else's opinion or like society's view about what my child needs to develop in a healthy way over my own gut knowing that our connection is the most important thing to him right now. His security and feeling safe is the most important thing. And if he doesn't feel safe, then it's my job to soothe that in him. And I'm not saying all on me. He is only 3, like I want self-soothing to also be something that I'm teaching. However, at that age and for a long time after, they need co-regulation, at least until like 7, right? And so we're sending them off to be in a class with like 12, however many kids to one adult. And we're expecting that like they're going to be able to be co-regulated with. And that's unrealistic, and especially not the way that we could possibly do it as healthy adult parents if we are reparenting ourselves and making sure that we're regulating ourselves. And again, that is also something that I've worked diligently at to be able to do. So if you're feeling like, well, I can't even like calm myself down and I can't even regulate myself and I don't have that kind of patience for my children, I'm here to say like that's a muscle too that you can get support growing, and have a pivot coach, get a parenting guide through that process, and get the support that you need so that you could show up like that for your children if you want to. Like if that's something that is calling to you right now, like if you're like, well, I wish I could, but I can't. You absolutely can. I'm here to tell you, you absolutely can. I had a rage issue when I was younger. Like I have anger issues in my teens and in my 20s. And like I have worked for over a decade, a long time now, like 15 years at pivoting from that. And so it is possible. Like it's a one day at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time, one thought at a time in the beginning, and you can build momentum. And taking it slower though for yourself could also be like that support that you need. Because if you're just next thing, checking emails and at the stoplight, like everything that like has to get done throughout the day is like, well, who set your life up like that? You did, right? Like as the adult, we did. And so we have to stop shoulding on ourselves. Like, oh, we should be doing this. And we have to stop guilt tripping ourselves. Like I am not willing to guilt trip myself into forcing my child into preschool again. And, I sent Michaela away to preschool so that I could be there for the other children. And I'm not willing to send Zen away to preschool just so that I can like homeschool, unschool Michaela without this extra energy around. Like there's got to be another way. And there's got to be ways that I can facilitate learning for both of them in a similar environment. Like, so anywho, what I'm saying is like, you do know better. And if you are feeling stressed out and you're feeling anxiety, that's an indication that your life choices are probably out of alignment with what you authentically need, and your children as well. If they are throwing huge fits, or they're fighting with you, or they're telling you that you don't understand, or they hate you, then like, is it possible? Are you willing to consider pausing on all these life commitments that we're trying to use to teach them and to give them the best opportunity to be the most successful that they can? Because just starting off steeper does not mean that they're going to get further. It probably means there's going to be burnout sooner. And like slow and steady wins the race, right? The tortoise beats the hare. Like, it is a marathon. Life is a marathon, and we need to train appropriately instead of just throwing our children into trying to run the marathon without building up stamina. And by stamina, I mean like building up a strong foundation of secure connection with us before pushing them out into the world and then wondering why they come back and they're acting resentful to us before they even know that word, right? Or being extra clingy is like, yes, oh, it's just separation anxiety. It's like, well, why are we forcing separation anxiety on our children? They're intuitively going to individuate away from us when they're ready and they feel safe to explore. If they're clinging, it's because there's so many reasons, right? But possibly, right? Like, let's consider, is it because they don't feel safe if they go and explore, that you're still going to be there for them, like physically, right? So they're clinging to you because they're scared of abandonment. And he literally told me, I'm scared of my teachers. And here I am, like, saying, let's try again, and because I don't also want to be like, okay, anytime you're scared, we just quit, right? Like, I'm not willing to do that. And why not take him to activities where I can have, like, I can sit in the lobby and I can have a safe separation from him for an hour, and then he can securely come back to me and we can talk about what he experienced and we can co-regulate if he didn't enjoy it or something, instead of hours and hours with a stranger and a bunch of other kids where he's not feeling safe and supported. And like, or maybe, right, like maybe some of you will say, oh, it's just the wrong preschool. And I love my preschool and they do co-regulate and they have a smaller ratio. And like, that's amazing. And like, maybe I will explore that, and like, maybe at 4, he will be more comfortable with a 4-hour day or something, a half day. And if you're missing your children when you're apart from them, that's also a sign, right? Like, if you want to spend their childhood with them and you don't want to force them, like rush them to grow up, or like look back and be like, oh, I barely even know my child because I haven't spent very much time with them, because I'm like setting them up in this system that I think they need to do so that they can be functional adults. And then what we're proving is that we all have all this like trauma and drama in our lives that we're healing from, and we're reparenting ourselves because our parents pushed this model on us. And other reasons, of course, too, right? Like, what I'm saying is, like, if you didn't like school and if you didn't think school made sense, maybe that's real. Maybe consider that, like, you don't have to repeat the cycle with your children. Of course, there's so many other factors, and I want to, again, be like sensitive to that. And I did not do well in school. Starting in like 2nd grade, I didn't like it, and I didn't think it made sense, and I questioned it, and I fought my mom about it. And in high school, got bad grades, and like, I'm not willing to repeat that cycle with my children because they don't have to. We don't have to send our kids to school all day. And what does that look like in the requirements of lifestyle change if we realize that that is like more in alignment for us? Like, how can we, it's not going to be like, we took years. It's 2024 and we started considering this in 2020. We took years to set up this lifestyle change and this opportunity to show up for our children in this different way. And already my daughter's doing so much better. She dressed up the other day in a long dress and like went and took my purse and put it on. I was like, Michaela, that's mommy's purse. It's got all my important stuff in it. Like, it's not a toy. And she's like, but look, mommy, I'm dressed up. I'm just like you. Look, I'm mommy. And she was mimicking me. She was imitating me. And like, of course, we know that that's like one of the most sincere forms of flattery, is like, when you want to act like someone, right? Like, that is such a compliment. And like, for her to want to be like me now, a year later, from the little girl that was like, get away from me, get out of my room, like screaming because I was forcing this on her, to now that, and like telling me she loves me and like asking me if we can have a tickle battle, and just going at a different pace and being able to listen and attune to what she needs to feel safe and soothed and supported and secure and seen, right? Like, it's so important that we start to see our children's wants and needs and desires and feelings. And before we can really attune and do that for our children, we have to be willing to see ourselves and our own needs. And we have to be willing to be honest about our own wants and what's making us anxious and what is causing us stress in our lives. And then getting really open-minded about life doesn't have to be that way. It's not supposed to be. I don't think we're supposed to be stressed out in the rat race. I think that is a form, my opinion, of control. If they keep us so busy all day long that we then pay more money for convenience, right? We pay to get our car washed because we don't have time to do it ourselves, or right? Instead of the fun. Do you remember washing your car as a kid? How fun that was? I mean, I do, at least. I remember throwing the soap sponge at my mom and my friends, and I squirting each other with the hose, and who cares if it wasn't perfectly spot free. It was the experience of joy and connection that provided, and now we just don't have time for it, right? And how we don't have time to cook, and we don't have time to sit down to dinner together because our kids have this sport and that sport and this extracurricular and that thing, because we're trying to enrich their lives so that they can be ahead and successful. And how much is it costing us? Everything that we gain has a cost, right? Everything that we gain has a cost to it. There's a payout, there's a trade for everything. So if we're so busy that we need to pay more for conveniences, then that drains our bank account, and then we need to work more to support the cost of living that is able to support the lifestyle that we're living, that needs it to be faster. And I am here today to hopefully inspire you to open your mind to consider, what if I slowed down? What am I running from? What am I afraid of slowing down? What would I hear in my mind if I wasn't constantly so busy? What would I know to be true if I took some time and just looked at the breeze blowing the bushes and trees for a while, and really that, saying of stop and smell the roses? If I stopped and took some time to take in the environment around me and appreciate the small stuff and prioritize connection, and if I made my highest priority that both myself and my immediate family, my loved ones, and my chosen family, if I made it a highest priority that we each were feeling safe and seen and soothed, right, supported authentically, and we're able to attach securely to each other, what would life look like? How would life feel? Really, possibly sit and journal that right now. Take 5 minutes right now to sit quietly and consider, what would it feel like if each of my children, my partner, myself felt safe in our environment, felt safe in our family system, felt safe in the relationships, and we each felt seen, and we each felt soothed, and we could attach securely. Just, yes, there's so many outside life stuff that is happening that is well, of course we can't do that. We've got this and we've got that, we've got this and we've got that, of course, right? And especially if we're not feeling that way ourselves because of our own upbringing, and because it's time for us to really do that inner work and find that kind of support for ourselves. That might seem just really, really far-fetched, or just so far away that maybe there's a black hole between where you are and where you want to be, and you just can't even fathom getting there right now. There is support for that, right? And please reach out to me, and I will share ways to get that support if that's where you're at right now in your journey. And if you just got quiet right now and you really considered, what would it feel like and look like? What would my life look like if we had all of that? And then how could I take small steps right now to start creating our lives to be that? Because life is precious and fragile and short. And God knows that my dad and my father-in-law dying in their 60s and my sister passing away at 33 has taught me that. One of my good friends in college died at 19, and I have had countless people pass away in recovery at way too young. Like, I am so clear about how precious and short life really is, and how unwilling I am to be in the rat race anymore. And that if I am not busy enough on the outside, that somehow I'm going to be judged by everyone else, that I'm not doing enough, and that I'm lazy, or that I'm like squandering my potential. And like, I know that that is not true, because every time I slow down, my life is enriched. My life speeds up is in regards to the things that matter. Because so much of my life up until the last 5 years, or until having children, was like staying busy and being productive is showing my worth and showing my value and showing the world on the outside how capable I am. And it's like, I'm not willing to measure my success anymore by how productive I am on the outside, because a lot of people don't understand that when I'm taking time to go within, and taking time to journal, and taking time to meditate, and taking time to just go on a walk, and taking time to just sit and be with my children, or play a simple game, or cook a meal, that I am actually enriching my spirit, and therefore I'm more effective when it does come to the production, because we achieve less with stress. Stress only impedes our progress. We absolutely achieve less with stress. Some people are like, I work better under pressure. Well, you force yourself to get the job done under pressure, because maybe you procrastinate, because maybe you're neurodivergent, because maybe you have, learning differences, or maybe because you're not that interested in the subject. And then finally, when it's due, you force yourself to get it done, and you're capable of doing that. Like, does that really mean that you work better? Or is it mean that like the thing that you're trying to force yourself to do is out of alignment with your purpose or your passion? And so you're not passionate about getting it done. And so then you wait to the last minute, or maybe you're so wrapped up in a fear of failure that you procrastinate for what there's so many reasons. But like, is that true? Are we really better under pressure? Or have we conditioned ourselves to just get it done when we have to? And I don't know, I'm just so curious right now. Like, I recognize that this is a long video, and I'm just like kind of spitballing here with you about things that have been on my mind. And if you've made it to this point in the video, you're my people, and like, please comment and let me know you made it to the end. And like, let me know that, like, let's see, what could we say here at the end? What could I talk about that is like something for just you, like the special stuff? Look, our children need our connection. And I would like to know, if you've made it to this part of the video, what you are doing to prioritize that connection with your children intentionally. And what's your favorite color? What is your favorite weather? What are your favorite things? Like, let's make an ideals list of what our life would look like if it was the ideal life for us. Let's just make a list. If there was no limits, if there was no financial burden, if you could have your life whatever way you wanted it to be, let's make a list of that, okay? Write down your ideal life, And let's see what small choices we could make, what small pivots we could make today that could get us more in alignment with that life and grow a bigger faith that the finances and the energy will flow in to support us when we're in the flow of our passions. Okay, I gotta go. Somebody's calling me. Okay. I love you guys. Let me know that you made your list. Let me know that you made it to the end, and let me know your thoughts about this. I'm super interested in all sides and all arguments to like what is best, and I care about your guys' opinions. So please share them with me. Hey, I'm London. I'm a certified relationship and parenting coach, and I am a new mom, homeschooler, unschooler to this journey, and I'm learning and growing along with you. So have a great day.